Bill Cosby trial judge corruption exposed. Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host Shakaama. Be sure to like the video. Let's try and keep it at a 20% like value of the total views. So 100 views should have 20 likes, if not 30. In this video, I'm going to expose the judge in the Bill Cosby trial is corrupt, and Bill Cosby will never get an actual fair trial if left up to him. We've actually heard from the jurors where the judge doxed all of them, which is something you never do in a trial. You always keep the juror's identity secret and confidential. But this judge exposed all the jurors, just like he unsealed a sealed court case. Clearly, there's something wrong with the judge. And what was his reasoning? The same reasoning he used to unseal Bill Cosby's sealed court case. A couple of jurors went on TV and spoke out that there was zero case here. They said the key witness, Andrea constand, was not believable, and there was zero evidence presented to even make a case. Although the reporters assured the jurors that their identity would be kept secret, the judge decided he would reveal all of their identities, including the alternate jurors. I'm going to show you exactly who this judge is and why he's so corrupt. And finally, I'll tell you why he should be behind bars and not sitting on the judge's bench.
We build giant corporate and government entities powered by vast amounts of personal information and expect them to be transparent machines, making our lives safer and easier.
This is the judge's wife. Notice anything different about her? She's black, she's black, she's black, she's black. The judge is white. Let me do some psychoanalysis here. It takes a certain type of white man to marry a black woman in our society today. There's several types. There are those who seemingly don't see color and they marry whoever is near them. There are those that want to rebel against their parents, and the black woman is the object of that rebellion. That has dire consequences for the grandchildren. And then there are those who actually have a fetish for black women and see them as objects that they must possess. The judge is the last type. This type is dangerous for the woman, but she doesn't know this until it's too late. That possession can take a myriad of shapes. Super jealous, highly possessive, seeing enemies everywhere, and feelings of inadequacy all the time. Who is the object of this feeling of inadequacy? Why, black men, of course. They must destroy any black man that comes into their aura. Hey, Bill Cosby is a black man. And guess what? This psychotic judge is doing his everything to destroy him. Even break the law and the rules of ethics. Also, I kept thinking to myself, there was a connection between the judge and the DA. Finally, I came up with the reason why. It took a bit of research, but I found it. O'Neill barred all communication devices during the trial and won't let it be televised. On May 2017, O'Neill and fellow Montgomery County Judge Thomas DeRicci ruled that the Cosby trial would not be shown live on television and barred all communication devices from being used. In other words, don't expect it to be live streamed or live tweeted by reporters in the courtroom. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the judges rule that anyone who violates the order could be held in contempt of court, so they could face a fine or jail time. There will even be some monitoring cell phones used during the trial. There will be a pool of cameras for video footage and photographs, but photographers will only be able to take pictures of people coming in and out of the courtroom. The trial will only be filmed on behalf of the people sitting in an auxiliary room. There will be 120 journalists in the courtroom itself. He ruled that Cosby's damaging 2005 deposition can be used as evidence against him. Before the trial, Cosby's attorneys tried several motions to help the comedian. Last fall, they hoped that to get Judge O'Neill to toss the 2005 deposition Cosby gave for Constand's civil lawsuit. USA Today notes that Cosby's attorney argued that Cosby only gave the deposition because he believed he was promised he'd never be criminally charged in the case. O'Neill didn't buy it and wrote that the deposition can be used against Cosby, quote, because there was no promise. there can be no reliance on the part of the defendant, and principles of fundamental fairness, a complete lie, and due process have not been violated, O'Neill wrote. This is a lie. This is a complete lie. The DA specifically said, and even wrote an email reiterating that he had made a promise that if you testify, if you give the deposition, I will never prosecute you and no other DA will ever prosecute you. That was a trade for the deposition. The judge continues, quote, this court finds that there is no constitutional barrier to the use of the defendant's civil deposition testimony. This is what Congress does. They call a bill the Affordable Care Act and then raise your rates 300%. This is exactly what Congress does. This judge is saying there's no constitutional barrier. Yes, there is. It's called cutting a deal. And then they said, he didn't put it in writing. Well, let's hop on over to contract law in civil court. Let's go ask one of the civil judges what they think about the judge in the COSBY case saying that there was no actual written down contract, but the former DA actually writes an email stating that he did in fact assure COSBY he would never be tried in a criminal case if he gave the deposition. What do you think the civil judges are going to say? Was there a contract made between the Commonwealth and Mr. Bill Cosby? Pretty sure the civil judges, the civil court judges are going to say there was a contract enforceable under the Constitution. That's all they deal with. You do not have to have a written down contract. If both parties come forward and say, we agreed to this and we did it on a handshake, that's good enough for civil court. And let me tell you this, people, before you say, you don't know what you're talking about, or blah, that doesn't hold, and you're just talking about a contractor and a homeowner. No, I'm talking about multi-billion-dollar deals. There are a lot of millionaires and billionaires who do deals on handshakes alone. And as much as you think that it requires it be written, that is not the law. In fact, many court cases, including the Supreme Court, have held, because that's really the court is the biggest responsibility of a court is to uphold contracts. I told you I've been to law school, right? You do not have to have a written deal. If both parties come up and said, yes, this is what we agreed on, and the judge thinks it was a fair agreement, you can't agree to be a slave, right? You can't agree to sacrifice your children in a satanic ritual, but you can agree to build a wall around your property and pay the guy for building the wall. You do not have to have a written contract for that. And the law is very clear. Judicial law is very clear. You do not have to have a written contract for that. And the DA reiterated it. Yes, I made the deal. Here's the email of me stating I did the deal. So let's go back to this judge. This court finds no constitutional barrier because there was no promise. There was a promise, and the DA reiterated it. This judge, this right here, should have gotten him disbarred completely, never to do law again, ever. Let's continue on. The deposition was unsealed and made public in 2015, which inspired Montgomery County prosecutors to arrest Cosby. Why did they arrest Cosby? Because, or let me ask that question this way. Why did they not arrest him before this? Because they had zero. Let me make that perfectly clear. The former DA said there is no case at all. I'm not going to prosecute it. The police aren't going to arrest him. Nobody arrested Cosby because there was no case. Based on unsealing that deposition, which was only secured by Cosby agreeing to a deal where he would never be prosecuted, he said all sorts of crazy things, which I don't understand where his attorney was. I'm not an attorney, but I've been to law school. I would never, if I were an attorney, I would never allow, first of all, I wouldn't allow I would not, the deposition is so problematic on so many levels. Why was there even a deposition? The DA said, I want to make Miss Andrea Constand a millionaire. I told you that in the last, I'm sorry, did I go over that yet? I've written all these scripts already. I wanted to make Miss Constand a millionaire. They already were going to do a deal, cut a deal outside of court. There was no reason to even have a deposition. That's where all of this hinges. Why was there a deposition? And we're going to get to that when I cover the DA in the next video. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you click the notification bell for that. As CNN notes, O'Neill did bar prosecutors from including testimony from 13 other women because that would be, quote, too prejudicial. However, one accuser, Kelly Johnson, was allowed to testify. COSBY himself was not expected to take the stand. Let me go over that. First of all, the number wasn't 13. I don't know how they got 13, but this is based on Gloria Allred. Now, I thought it was just me. I said, I'm not an attorney. Maybe I'm not a total expert, but I've been to law school. I think she's full of hooey. A long time ago, Gloria Allred actually did fight for quote-unquote civil rights of everybody. I think she discovered she can make millions of dollars off of falsely accusing and prosecuting black rich men, be they in sports or entertainment or something like that. And a lot of times the psychology of that entire industry is that the black rich men are plucked out of high school, not even high school, not even graduated from high school, and they're thrust into this limelight. What does that mean? Why am I getting at that? They have zero education, zero wisdom, zero knowledge of how the world works. One guy, I don't know if I did the story. One guy, the woman came over and said she was R-word by him. There was a party full of people. Come to find out, and then she said that she was R-word on the couch. He has internal cameras in his house. No stupid black man there. She said she was drugged. Oh my God. He said no, she was not drugged. She drank what everybody else drank at the party. And he turned around and sued her, saying that she pulled a gun on him. And the facts of the case are, and the video proof showed it, she left the party. She went to the pool, went to the jacuzzi, got nice and relaxed, went to the couch, fell asleep on the couch, woke up. He told her to get out. She leaves, comes back with a gun and points it at him. Who was her attorney? Gloria Allred, asking for millions of dollars. They dropped the case. That's Gloria Allred today. Now, looking at the defense attorneys that were presented on CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC, they all said Gloria Allred is a pariah. And many said that she should be disbarred and she should not even be allowed to come in a football field of a courthouse. O'Neill is a Republican. O'Neill has run for election as a Republican and has been successful both times. As Mercury News reported in 2003, O'Neill ran unopposed in the Republican primary and was supported by the state GOP. The Montgomery Bar Association Judiciary Committee gave O'Neill a highly recommended rating before he was elected. Back in 1998, O'Neill ran for, and this is important, listen to this, Montgomery County District Attorney, notes the Morning Call. Even though the Republican already had a candidate in the running, at the time O'Neill said he wouldn't run for another office if the Republicans didn't nominate him. O'Neill wasn't successful, as Bruce L. Castor Jr. was nominated and became the next DA for Montgomery County. Coincidentally, it was Castor who declined to prosecute Cosby in 2005. Castor was the acting Attorney General of Pennsylvania in August of 2016. Montgomery County Judge Stephen T. O'Neill, who is presiding over Bill Cosby's trial, has a glaring conflict of interest that has received very little, if any, mainstream media coverage. If justice is going to be served in the case, Justice O'Neill needs to step down immediately. Now, there's the smoking, that was the first smoking gun. O'Neill ran for DA, although Castor was already running, was already the incumbent, and he was going to receive the nomination, and everybody knew it. But O'Neill ran anyway, and then threatened him and said, I will not run for any other office unless I receive the DA nomination for the Republican Party. Have you heard that fact anywhere else? But let's move on. In 2002, Judge Stephen T. O'Neill was appointed to the Montgomery County, Pennsylvania bench and swore on a Bible held by his wife, Deborah V. O'Neill, to uphold the United States and Pennsylvania constitutions. Deborah O'Neill has an extensive background in sexual assault research and has even acknowledged her husband and thanked him for his contribution to her research and work. Bing, 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 bing. Mrs. O'Neill holds a doctoral degree in social work and works closely with victims of sexual assault and acquaintance R-word. In 2012, as a doctoral student in the University of Pennsylvania, she wrote a 183-page dissertation on acquaintance R-word. Quote, responding to the college campus acquaintance R-word, contextual issues, and the challenge of inter-organizational collaboration. That's the title of it. She spent countless weeks and hours interviewing R-word victims and did a study of her findings. When she received her doctoral degree, she wrote to Steve, I share his achievement with you. You and I are my best friend and the love of my life. Thank you for being gentle with my insecurities and robust with encouragement. I could not have done this without you. I could not have done this without you. I could not have done this without you. Is she talking about she's just married to him? Is she talking about he's just her best friend and makes her feel good? Let's continue. Mrs. O'Neill is a counselor at the Counseling and Psychological Services, CAPS, a counseling center for the University of Pennsylvania, and she's also the coordinator of the Sexual Trauma Treatment Outreach and Prevention, STTOP, at the same university. She's listed as a possible affiliate at the Sexual Trauma and Recovery, Inc., STAR, a private practice that, quote, provides support, education, and advocacy to empower all individuals and families affected by sexual trauma. Mrs. O'Neill is obviously very passionate and active in her field. Mrs. O'Neill should be able to pursue her own career path independently of her husband. But judges and attorneys know that both real and perceived conflict of interest in the courtroom must be avoided at all cost. This is backed by law, backed by regulations, and backed by rules of ethics. According to the Pennsylvania Code of Judicial Conduct, Canon 2, Section B, quote, judges should not allow their family, social, or other relationships to influence their judicial conduct or judgment. They should not lend the prestige of their office to advance the private interests of others, nor should they convey or knowingly permit others to convey the impression that they are in a special position to influence the judge. Judges should not testify voluntarily as a character witness. That's the law in Pennsylvania. The law. It's not a code of conduct. It's not not even a regulation, which is different from a law. Did you know that? And it's not a rule of ethics. It's actual law. Can a judge rise above personal and professional influence of a spouse in a matter like this? Of course one can, but with one of the highest profile cases in decades, it is incumbent on Judge O'Neill to abide by not only the letter, but also the spirit of the Pennsylvania Code of Judicial Conduct. On the surface, Mrs. O'Neill's work would not appear to be a problem. However, due to Judge O'Neill's support of his wife's career, passion, and doctoral research, about acquaintance R word and sexual trauma, one can legitimately question his impartiality. It's unconfirmed if Mrs. O'Neill associates contact or connections with R word organizations or R word support groups are influencing the judge's decisions, nor has it been determined if any of her cases were assigned from Montgomery County courts or by her husband, but there is a possibility. That alone seems like a huge conflict of interest, not just for Cosby's case, but for any sexual assault case Judge O'Neill may preside over in the future. Judges are subject to a certain ethical standard and have a duty to be impartial. The one and only person whose avowed primary duty is to uphold justice and treat Cosby fairly is failing to meet his ethical and legal obligations. Thus, Judge O'Neill should recuse himself to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest in the Commonwealth versus William Henry Cosby Jr. case. Let's go even further and say that his unsealing of a sealed case, revealing the contents of that sealed case, revealing the identity of jurors, not dismissing a case when the prosecution had not even presented any concrete physical evidence, all point to his complete violation of the law, removal, and jail time. Thank you for watching the Shakaama Live Show. Be sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, and if you could, I'm sitting here again on another day without the air conditioner to get the sound perfect. I don't actually have a studio. I'm sitting in a room that I've put towels all over everything, every surface that I possibly could, just to get the sound perfect. I'm, of course, sweating my skin off. I'm melting. If you could contribute at patreon.com/Shakaama, more than likely, this video will not be monetized. I'll click it, but a lot of you fail to realize that the first 24 hours of a video are crucial, and that's where most people make most of their money. I go and check my videos, and there are no ads. I check it on the phone, check it on tablet, check it on laptop, check it on Chrome, check it on Firefox, check it on Internet Explorer. No ads, nowhere. And there was some rumor going around that they would not put ads on any video for the first 24 hours. Unless it's, unless it's one of those darling people that they love, right? Thank you for watching. Please donate. Patreon.com/Shakaama.